in this deck, playing their deck, our goal is to play all the cards that actually either controls the board or allows us to play cards from our opponent. Cards that allow us to play from our opponent are things like Siphon Insight, where for a black, a blue, we get to look at the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck. We get to take one of them and we get to exile it face down. We may play that card at any time that we can play the card normally, and we use mana as of any color to cast a spell. And it also can be flashback for 3 mana, so we could like turn 2 play it, and then turn 3 play it again, and just have yanked 2 different cards that we could play from our opponent. The nice thing about Siphon Insight is also you may play the card. So if the card that we take is like a land, we can actually still play the land for our side of the board. So that way it's like we know that we're like a little light on our own lands on our draw, so we can make sure we don't miss our land drops. The other end of it is that the reason why this card's so great is that the card that we are allowed to play from it, as long as the card's been exiled with Siphon Insight, we're allowed to play it. So we aren't like restricted that we have to play it right after Siphon Insight. So we can sit on like one of their bombs and play it against them, or we can even steal like a draw spell or whatever we think is more useful out of the options of the 2 cards. Next card that's actually playing our opponent's cards is Mind Flare. So for 5 mana, we get a 3/3. When it enters battlefield, we gain a control of target creature for as long as we control the Mind Flare. And this is actually a really good card. Not only is it allows us to steal whatever the biggest threat our opponent has, it also steal as utility creatures from our opponent. But the other thing is we can also play it with Deadly Dispute. So if the opponent was going to, say, destroy our Mind Flayer, instead of giving the opponent their creature back, we can just sacrifice it to the Deadly Dispute. And that way, they don't get the creature back. Yeah, they kill our Mind Flayer, or do they? Because we can always potentially play Fading Hope and return the Mind Flayer to our hand as well. So, multiple possible synergies with Mind Flayer. And, I forgot to mention, we also are running the Skullport Merchant, which allows us to sacrifice the creature we steal a Mind Flayer as well. The other card that we have that allows us to play our opponent's cards is Kotosi the Silent Spider. For 5 mana, you get a 4/4 when it enters the battlefield. We can exile target card other than a basic land from an opponent's graveyard. So you actually can get rid of the non-basic lands from their graveyard as well. I'm not sure how you'll end up with a non-basic land in your opponent's graveyard, but you could potentially steal their non-basic lands. What this does is it allows you to search their graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as the exiled card, and then the player will shuffle their deck. And as long as Kotosi is on the board, you may play the exiled card. If Kotosi leaves the board, you'll no longer have access to it, even if you bring Kotosi back, because it's restricted to that copy of Kotosi. The other thing that's great about this is, even if you don't play the card against the opponent, you've just successfully pulled out all other copies of it from your opponent's hand, deck, and graveyard, so you no longer have to worry about your opponent playing any more copies of this. This is particularly useful if we're playing against any type of combo deck, because if we get a copy of the card in their graveyard, we take it from them, and they can no longer use it. It's also really good against, just taking some of our opponents' like removal spells they may have played earlier, because we no longer have to worry about the removal spell, and other similar type of cards. Last but not least, we have Xanathar, the Guild Kingpin. So for 6 mana, we get a 5/6 body that at the beginning of our upkeep, we get to choose an opponent. Until the end of that, until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. We may look at the top card of their library in time, and we may play the top card of that library. Which means we can play their lands, we can play any of their spells. But our main goal usually is we play the top card of their deck until we find something that looks like it's going to be a dead card. Like, it's going to be useless to them if we get to the opponent. And that would normally be we just play it until we hit a land. In some cases, you do have to play until you hit something that you just can't make use of. And that's perfectly fine also. The other thing to make note of with the Xanathar Guild Kingpin is that it does prevent your opponent from playing spells during your turn if you get the trigger to go on the stack. So if they do like decide to wait until your turn to use a kill spell on Xanathar during your upkeep when the trigger goes off, sure, Xanathar dies, but the trigger finishes resolving after the kill happens. We'll get to still play off their library, and they'll no longer be able to play against it. So if he does stay alive, or not, if the trigger happens, we don't have to worry about our opponent using counter spells or any other types of removal interaction triggers. So overall, really, really good card. The way that we try to, help protect our Xanathar, our Kotosi, and Mind Flare, we do have stock comings, we do have negates. We also have the ability to steal cards from our opponent with Siphon Insight or Kotosi, so we can potentially steal more counter spells against control decks. But we also have the ability to steal other protection spells, potentially depending on the deck that we are playing against. If our creatures do end up in the graveyard, it's okay, we do have Blood on the Snow. This is a solid remover that allows us to destroy all creatures or destroy all planeswalkers. After the destruction happens, we get to return a creature or planeswalker mana value X or less from our graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow mana spent into it. So that does mean that we are playing a fair bit of snowlands. We do actually have a fair bit of non-snowlands in the deck, just to help make sure we do also still have the mana fixing needed for all of our double black symbols that are required for our spells, but also our double blue symbols as well. The other thing, so with Blood on Snow, if we actually do end up with 6 snow sources in play, we could actually bring back Xanathar if it ended up in the graveyard. We can also bring back Mind Flare or Kotosi for 5. And even if we can't bring back these big hitters, we can bring back our Skullport Merchant, or even in some cases, the Shambling Ghast. We have the Shambling Ghast and Skullport Merchant as early bodies in the deck. That also do give us some treasures. Skullport Merchant when it first comes to play, Shambling Ghast when it dies. The other types of removal that we're using is Poison the Cup, Bloodchief's Thirst as our destruction spells, and we have Fading Hope as a bounce spell. So we have a lot of flexible control interaction. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and hop into the games and see how it works. Okay, a little iffy, but we'll go ahead and try keeping it. We'll just start off with the Ice Tunnel since it has to come play tapped. Alright, opponent gets their Shambling Ghast out. We'll go for Storm Giants and play our Shambling Ghast. Ooh, Adina. Don't see those too often anymore. So that means the opponent's got some kind of life gain strategy. Probably will make pest tokens over there as well. Yep, see, I already start to make those pests. Alright, opponent doesn't come in for any damage. Not entirely sure what they were worried about. Like, the 1/3 is pretty safe against a Shambling Ghast. I don't know why they didn't attack with Dina. Unless they're just worried about taking 1 point of damage on the attack back. Alright, opponent's not afraid to come in this time. We'll block here. Alright, opponent sacrifices it to a Village Rites, which means we actually get to still keep our creature. Generally okay with that. going to just play the Ice Tunnel, and we're going to pass. I'm not playing the Mind Flayer this turn, just because I was going with the idea that I want to have Fading Hope available for their kill spell. Okay, we'll go ahead and block another one of these. I'm just going to put Dina back into their hand. That way we don't take the life loss from the pest trigger. Ooh, Siphon Insight. I'll take that. We'll just go ahead with the Blood on the Snow right now. Oh, I think I selected the wrong thing there. Destroy all creatures. The reason why I cleaned up the board now is I wanted to do it before the opponent got a whole bunch of extra pests on the board, and made it that way that would be very punishing for us to do. Or even like a Meat Hook Massacre, because even if they go Meat Hook Massacre X0, and with Dina on the board, it would give them a whole bunch of the life gain triggers, potentially. Alright. So Agadeem's Awakening, bring back Dina and the Shambling Ghast. I don't know why they did X3, I guess just to flex that 1 mana against us. We'll bring out the Mind Flayer. Since we have the negate to protect it, I think we're pretty good with this play here. Only drawback to Nagina or Dina is that it says sacrifice another creature, so it can't sacrifice it to itself. Alright, sadly we are 1 snow source away from actually being able to bring back that with the Blood on the Snow, but usually after you hit a board wipe, there's not any creatures left for you to steal with it. Let's go ahead and Siphon Insight. See what we're able to take from the opponent. Let's see, we'll go ahead and take the Hunt for Specimens. We'll foretell this, and we'll pass it back. Alright, Sedgman Witch for the opponent. Seems like a good time to hit him with the Blood on the Snow. Since we're planning on doing that, we're not going to use the Poison Cup yet. We'll go ahead and sacrifice our treasure, though, just steal another card. We'll take the Swamp. I'd like to be able to get some more lands going. Plum is actually a really strong combo with the opponent's deck. It's actually a deck I have played before. I actually did this even with the Dina Soul Steeper, as well as the Witherbloom's, what was it called? Witherbloom something. Basically, it's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you make your opponent lose a life and you gain a life. Alright, we'll flip that mana. Get ourselves a swamp. Probably should have gotten an island, actually. I just realized that we only have double blue on board. But we're going to get ourselves another treasure here, because the opponent's going to pick up our Ghast once more. I'll be honest, I probably should have held on to that instead of playing it right away. The reason is, it's if we drew a land, we could have actually used it for the loot mechanic. Discard draw. Sadly, like, out of our 2 uses of steel, we ended out with not really much of a target to steal from our opponent. Okay, another awakening for our opponent. I'm going to poison the cup here. I'm going to take the loss of life. Alright, put that on the bottom. We'll keep the siphon on top. We'll pass it back to the opponent. Yeah, there's the Witherbloom Apprentice, which I thought they might have in their deck. This is basically a pretty budget-friendly deck that they're playing. Before we do anything, let's get him off the board. Alright, they're doing the Plumb the Forbidden combo just to drain us a little bit, as well as get some card draw action. Alright, still another hunt for specimens, and we steal another Dina. We'll pass it back. The problem with playing our deck against theirs is they are a combo deck, and if you don't have the combo pieces, well, it's not very useful to steal their cards. Well, I guess we can Mind Flayer it again. What's the opponent's play here? Alright. They're sacrificing the pest to a village rites before the card is stolen. We're going to play the Dina that we stole from them, and we're going to keep the Dina that we play. That way, the legendary rule forces the one we stole to their graveyard. That way, if they kill the Mind Flayer, we don't have to worry about them getting anything back. Alright. Sacrificing Mind Flayer here just to deny them a point of life gain. Another Shambling Ghast. Alright. We're going to play Kotosi. Going to steal their pest summonings, just so I can get the other one out of their hand. Because we're kind of in a dangerous position where we're at. I can't let them get too many cards on the board thanks to the Meathook Massacre draining us life. And since they have Plumb the Forbidden in their hand, apparently, it was probably the right call to get that out of there. Alright, we'll go ahead and attack in. No reason to counterspell the Plumb the Forbidden since it's a triggered ability on cast to get the extra draw. So I'd only just be counterspelling one draw from our opponent. Plus, I already put this in the foretell before I started the attack. Alright, since we already played the spell from them, we actually don't really lose out on anything. We saw that. We counterspell it. Alright, here comes the Guild Kingpin for us. With Guild Kingpin, we'll actually start being able to play off the top of our opponent's deck, so we actually can now make use of their combos if we come across them. Oh, look, Meathook Massacre. I will play you. Full control, full control, full control! No! I wanted to play the Plum the Forbidden. Oh well. I'm a little worried about playing Plum the Forbidden, but we'll go ahead and play this X0 for the sacrifice. We leave them with their land on top, and now all we do is we just keep playing until we leave them with just a land on top of their deck. The opponent should never be able to play anymore with how we're trying to do this. Alright. And opponent realized what's going on and has scooped it up. This one's not a keep. The fact that we ended up with our two of Otawaras both in hand as our only lands, that's not good. Okay, this is a much better hand. We'll keep this one. I think we'll put Otawara on the bottom of the deck. Because again, we can use Siphon Insight to steal our opponent's lands if we feel that we need to. We'll lead off with the Shipwrecked Marsh because this is a sorcery spell anyways. Alright, let's get that off the board. No, let's not. We're just going to go for the Siphon Insight right away. Ooh, yeah, we don't like the idea of that Thalia, but I do like the idea of sealing a Redain. By sealing Redain, we make it so that way we get a creature on board that's just a large defender for us. But actually, I want to play her on the backside, because the opponent has less cards to interact with it if we put it on the 4-cost side, and it'll help us prevent a lot of the chip damage they usually do. We're going to leave our mana up this time, since this is an instant speed spell anyways. Alright, another Hopeful Initiate. Not worried about that. Let's see what we steal. Just a land. Nothing exciting there. Let's play the land from our hand. And we'll go 4. This will make it so that the Hopeful Initiates no longer do damage to us. But it also means that if they had played like, what is it called? The werewolf that allows you to imprison a card until it leaves the battlefield, they won't get their card back. Alright, we need to kill that. Let's see, we can do that without playing that land. So now we can use Ice Tunnel. Alright, Luminous Aspirant is a tough one because it allows it to grow that, which then allows it to grow those. So here's the question. Do we go for Kotosi so that we can steal this from their graveyard? I think we still do that. Because we can play this land. We Bloodchief's Thirst, get rid of the Luminous Aspirant. play the Kotosi. And actually, I'm going to steal the Aspirant, because I think that's more important to get out of their deck. Alright. So the opponent only has imprisoned cards in their hand. So while that does get rid of our Kotosi, well, actually it doesn't, because they couldn't pay for the one from the Protector Shield because the opponents got mana screwed. Oh, there we go. The card we stole from the opponent ended up being what was the opponent's downfall. Because Protector Shield reduces damage dealt to any permanent we could and ourselves by 1. So it ended up protecting us early. Whenever you or another permanent you control is targeted by a spell or ability, they have to pay an additional 1 or they counter that function. So Brutal Cathar could not seal away our Kotosi so that they could start chipping in for more damage. And stealing away the Luminarch Aspirant made sure that they didn't just like get to put a +1/+1 counter and grow this whole board to be actual threats still, even through this shield. We'll keep this. The reason why I'm keeping it is because we can set up the Poison the Cup on the Foretell, kill something, get a Scry 2, and be able to potentially still dig into the blue sources that we need. Since we are on the play is why I decided that that was a good idea. Fortunately, drawing a Sock Cutting there is not ideal. There's the Thalia to try to tax us. But we are okay with this because we still have the mana to go for the kill on Thalia. Decided to wait for the opponent's turn. Put that on the bottom. We need blue sources, so put that on the bottom. Alright, put in place Spellbinder to take a peek at our hand. I'm not sure which card they decide that they don't like the most. Probably Blood on the Snow. Yep. And we're against white aggro, getting mana screwed. So this will be over probably in 2 more turns. Make that I'm scooping now. Luminarch Aspirant just says that I'm done. I hate that card so much. Like, right now, white has got so many stupidly strong cards. Whether you're aggro, whether you're control, white does it all right now.
Thank you for watching the video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more content. If you'd like to join me while I stream, you can find me on Twitch, the link below. I hope to see you again in the next video and have a nice one.